The Chinese Civil War, 1945 to 1949, was a decisive conflict that shaped modern China, marking the end of decades-long struggles between the Chinese Nationalist Party, Kuomintang (KMT), and the Communist Party of China (CPC). Emerging from the chaos of Japanese occupation during World War II, the war determined the future political, social, and economic trajectory of the country. By 1949, the CPC emerged victorious, establishing the People's Republic of China, while the KMT retreated to Taiwan, creating a legacy that still influences global politics today. Background: Seeds of conflict. 1. Historical tensions. The Civil War had its roots in the 1920s when the KMT, under Sun Yat-sen and later Chiang Kai-shek, sought to unify China after decades of warlordism. The CPC, inspired by Marxist ideology, aimed to mobilize peasants and workers to establish a socialist state. Both sides cooperated temporarily in the Second United Front, 1937 to 1945, against Japanese invasion, but mutual suspicion persisted. 2. World War II and Japanese occupation. During the Second Sino-Japanese War, 1937 to 1945, both the KMT and CPC fought Japan, but coordination was limited. The KMT, based in Chongqing, bore the brunt of conventional fighting, suffering heavy casualties and economic strain. The CPC expanded its influence in rural areas through guerrilla warfare, winning the hearts and minds of peasants. 3. Post-war power vacuum. After Japan's surrender in 1945, China faced political fragmentation, economic instability, and military exhaustion. The United States attempted to mediate, urging KMT-CPC negotiations, but talks failed due to mutual distrust and competing ambitions. Outbreak of full-scale civil war. In late 1945, hostilities resumed as both sides sought control over key cities, railways, and industrial regions. The KMT controlled major urban centers and the national government, while the CPC controlled vast rural areas with popular support. Key early battles included confrontations in Manchuria, a strategically vital region with abundant resources and industrial capacity. Key campaigns. 1. Manchurian Campaign. The CPC, under leaders such as Mao Zedong, Lin Biao, and Peng Dehuai, capitalized on Soviet withdrawal of Japanese forces, taking control of Manchurian railways, arms depots, and cities. The KMT, though initially reinforced by American-supplied troops and equipment, struggled with corruption, poor morale, and overstretched supply lines. 2. Huaihai and Pingjing Campaigns. The Huaihai Campaign, 1948 to 1949, in eastern China was a decisive clash that destroyed much of the KMT's remaining field army. The Pingjing Campaign, 1948 to 1949, led to the capture of Beijing, then Beiping, and Tianjin, consolidating communist control over northern China. 3. Southern and Western Campaigns. The CPC extended its influence gradually over southern provinces, including Guangdong and Sichuan. KMT forces, despite retreating to fortified positions, were unable to mount effective counteroffensives. Factors behind communist victory. Popular support. The CPC implemented land reform, redistribution of wealth, and anti-corruption policies, winning peasant loyalty. Military strategy. Effective use of guerrilla warfare, encirclement tactics, and mobility enabled the CPC to defeat larger KMT forces. KMT weaknesses. The KMT suffered from corruption, poor morale, inflation, and loss of popular trust, weakening their military and political position. International influence. The United States supported the KMT with arms and advisors but could not provide sufficient troops to turn the tide. The Soviet Union provided limited support to the CPC in Manchuria, including captured Japanese weapons. The fall of the KMT. By late 1949, Communist forces had captured major cities, including Shanghai, Nanjing, and Beijing. On October 1, 1949, Mao Zedong proclaimed the People's Republic of China in Tiananmen Square. The KMT, led by Chiang Kai-shek, retreated to Taiwan, maintaining a government in exile known as the Republic of China. Consequences of the Chinese Civil War. 1. Political transformation. Mainland China was unified under communist rule, ending centuries of fragmentation and warlord influence. Taiwan remained a separate political entity, creating a lasting cross-strait tension. 2. Economic and social change. The war caused millions of deaths and widespread destruction. Land reform, collectivization, and nationalization began under communist policies, transforming rural and urban society. 3. Cold War implications. The victory of the CPC shifted China into the Soviet sphere of influence, though later Sino-Soviet tensions would emerge. The United States recognized the KMT in Taiwan, refusing to acknowledge the PRC initially, cementing Cold War divisions in Asia. 4. Legacy. The Civil War set the stage for Maoist policies, including the Great Leap Forward and Cultural Revolution. Taiwan developed into a democratic and economically successful state, becoming a key player in East Asian geopolitics. Lessons from the Chinese Civil War. Popular support is crucial. Winning the hearts and minds of the population can outweigh conventional military advantages. Adaptability in warfare. Guerrilla tactics, mobility, and strategic patience allowed the CPC to overcome initial disadvantages. Political corruption weakens armies. The KMT's failure to maintain discipline and public trust contributed to its collapse. Impact of international dynamics. Foreign aid and diplomacy play significant roles, but domestic legitimacy often decides outcomes. The Chinese Civil War, 1945 to 1949, was a defining conflict that reshaped China's political, social, and economic landscape. Emerging from Japanese occupation, the war pitted the nationalists' conventional forces against the communists' popular and guerrilla-driven strategies. The CPC's victory established the People's Republic of China, while the KMT retreated to Taiwan, creating a geopolitical split that remains unresolved to this day.